Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm unboxing the awesome dedicated Blu-ray player from Magnetar, the UDP800. This is a stunning Blu-ray player. It is entirely focused on silver disc based formats. It has some amazing video processing on board. It will actually play, or do the role at least anyway, of a universal disc player. But unlike its big brother, the UDP900, which we've done previously up here, this is more focused for people that are looking for a movie-based product, rather than be very critical of their CD and SACD playback. Still by design, massive, overrated, something like 60 watt power supply on board, ultra quiet in its operation as far as that power goes, because of course as high-end manufacturers are realizing, the very output is managed primarily, firstly, by the power that is being fed to all of the critical elements. So get the power supply right and everything will start working just a little bit better internally. So they've done that. Look, take it for granted it'll play all of the HDR and HDR Plus and Dolby Vision and all of that. It will also play, of course, all the Blu-ray formats and DVD and so on. 4K is probably its focus, and for people that are owning 4K discs, this is the player for them. Right, without further ado, let's have a look. Magnetar UDP800. Right, packaging. Now, like the big brother, this is double boxed. So this outer box can be tarnished with things like the freight labels and packing slips that we have removed. It has some basic information, branding, and other information associated with the player, basic quantity and physics of it as far as its size and weight for shipping. Okay, an emulation of that. Opening these products is really, really straightforward. Again, this is an outer box, there's an inner one inside. So, like everything that is sealed with packing tape, I always recommend that you don't drag the knife across the top. You see spinning it around, a basic brown inner box as well, but again, we're now starting to recognize that this is a Blu-ray player. So we're seeing branding associated with the UHD Blu-ray, Dolby Vision, Dolby Audio, DTS Master HD, Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, HDMI, along with an emulation of the Magnetar branding and the UDP800. It's pretty straightforward at this point. You can discard the outer box, throw it in the recycling if you want, because it's done its job. It's a freight carton. You have everything you will need as far as storage or potential moving around the place with this in a carton. We've got a line drawing of the player itself, and no points for guessing it's much smaller than the 900, the flagship model. We see the first scannable information associated with the serial numbers, as well as some more information associated with its weight once it's in it. Okay, and an emulation. Opening this part's really straightforward. Again, sealed with Magnetar branded packing tape. So a few nicks and we're in. So as I lean it forward, you see that they have included a full colour sort of slip associated with some of the key qualities of the product itself. And it's a full colour photograph of the unit. There's nothing on the back. As we lean that forward, we see the Magnetar logo pressed into some polystyrene. Although this is the high impact sort of polystyrene, it's a little bit sort of soft and squishy. It's beautifully moulded to the exact shape of the player itself. Then as I spin it round, we see the bag that these are in. It's a velvet sort of velour sort of bag. It's got a lovely sort of fluffy feel to it. And again, an emulation of the Magnetar branding. There's a slot left and right of the closed-cell foam sort of packaging to enable you to very easily pick up the product. And if we put that off to one side for a moment, I'd like to show you the rest of the things that we'll see in the box. The first being a very, very comprehensive multilingual user manual guide. Like anything at this level of the industry, it's very, very comprehensive as far as some of the settings that you can tweak or eliminate to ensure that you get the very, very best performance specific to your setup in your home. It relates to video processing and scaling of legacy products like Blu-ray and DVD, and it's utterly brilliant. By the way, the work that they have done from an engineering of picture is absolutely second to none. The stability, the vibrancy of colour, the depth, everything is absolutely spot on with this product. Now, clearly, it's not a cheap product, but it is well worth the investment. It is utterly stunning at its job. Underneath that manual, we see the last of the accessories. The first, and it's a little rare now, they're including the AAA batteries for the remote control. As we see many suppliers having to respond to the recycling mandates for international countries, we see batteries becoming actually sort of nothing that is supplied nowadays, which is a bit disappointing. We see inside a bag a basic New Zealand 3-pin earthed IEC power cord, and then we've got a Magnetar branded remote, so just put that off to one side. Okay, again, everything is beautifully cut out. The power cord sits in a lovely indent in the packaging, the batteries, the remote, all designed to ensure that everything arrives to you in utterly perfect condition. This is a high-end player, and with that they have responded to ensure that every element of it, as far as protecting it and getting it to you, is considered to be high-end as well. Nevertheless, pausing and having a quick look at the remote control. The bag itself is recyclable. It may even be one of those new plastics that's somehow sort of home compostable. Nevertheless, soft bag. The remotes are lovely, by the way. I guess with the feature set of any universal disc player and high-end Blu-ray player like this, you can have a remote with a lot of buttons, and I'll be honest, this one does, but it means that you can have immediate access to some of the key features that you would expect, as well as instant track access, opening and closing and power and all the basics. You've got the ability to turn on and off other elements of it, including HDR and other options along those lines. You've got a brightness or a light backlight for the remote as well. A little clear plastic thing, and the entire back, by the way, to keep the classic battery clip from breaking, the entire back slides open to give you access to the battery compartment. Again, a very elegant approach to even just their remote control. Right, now, the player itself. It's really heavy. Sure, look, let's be honest, it's not as heavy as the 9000, that's a monster, right? But as far as a DVD player goes, most of them are light, plasticky and flimsy and make awful creaking noises as you move them around. This is solid. It's really, really well built. Again, the Magnetar logo, and this sort of soft bag is Velcro closed in a couple of sections. We see immediately, as we open the flap, the front of the unit with its classic checkerboard design. The Magnetar logo, a USB input and the basic control, which we'll touch on later. Getting out of the bag is relatively straightforward, although the bag is a snug fit, so be patient with it. It's worth just taking your time to ensure that you are bringing the bag over the catch points like the feet before sort of rocking it forward and doing the rest at the back. Okay, pretty straightforward. Again, lovely little bag. Now, pausing and looking at the front. As I alluded to earlier, we've got a Magnetar screen printed logo in the extruded aluminium front. We see extruded aluminium of a two-tone black hiding a little USB input. Now, bearing in mind, the USB at the front is very capable, but it's designed for thumb drives. It's the USB at the back, which we'll touch on later, that is designed for some of the very large multi-terabyte hard drives. Big central display, as you would expect, lots of information, and wonderful as far as the ability to turn that display off or dim it down. and a really rugged, very, very well thought out, centrally located DVD-ROM drive. It's worth mentioning from a topography perspective, the drive itself is encased and covered in a very rigid vibration dampening chassis. It's a brilliant way of ensuring that any microscopic vibration is not transferred anywhere internally, and its operation is extremely quiet. Then we see the basic operation that you would expect from a Blu-ray player of an open and close button, a play, pause, a stop and a skip backwards and forwards, along with a traditional power button. The LED has certain statuses associated with standby, on and all sorts of things as you would expect. Tilting it forward, we see the Magnetar logo in the top, and looking at it we can see immediately that it's not very big, it's not very deep, it's a very traditional size and shape as far as its physics. So at the back we see how well appointed this is. Unlike many that are sort of stripped out, so to speak, this includes the outputs associated with CD and SACD playback. Nevertheless, starting at the boring side of things, we've got the IEC power socket along with a fuse and a simple rocker switch for on and off. A bit of screen printing associated with the HDMI and the video processing that they've put on board, and then both a set of single-ended and balanced audio outputs, clearly labelled left and right. For those using RS-232, they've got the RS-232 control socket, and then the ability to have both optical and coaxial digital output for connecting to any number of different legacy processing products. The rear USB that I alluded to earlier is USB 3, and it will handle up to a 16 terabyte hard drive, which is huge as far as those people that have managed to gain a copy of a movie or two. Then we see, as you would expect, duplicated HDMI outs. The first one, or HDMI 1, is the main output. Oh, it's screen printed to say that as well, but that's where you can get picture and sound via the HDMI. The second one is designed if you're using this as an audio transport, perhaps to a high-end DAC, or if you're passing the audio out separately to the picture. The picture might go to a high-end 4K television or projector, and then the audio passed down to a legacy theatre amplifier that isn't able to cope with the 4K discs that you are playing. Nevertheless, the duplication allows for a myriad of different applications. The unit doesn't have the 7.1 analog outputs that we see with the Big Brother, and it's not what you expect with a player of this price either. Lastly, we see a LAN or network connection, and again, if you're streaming, other things along those lines, this is the connection that you will want. Most likely this is going to be utilised for music streaming rather than video, but nevertheless it's good to see that they've invested in a high quality, high speed network connection. Now before I spin it around, I will comment about the feet. It's worth noting that, again, with any physical media player, something that's focused and dedicated to something that's spinning a disc, there are microscopic vibrations. It's well and good to try and eliminate them within the chassis, but you're always going to be having something. And to be able to eliminate potential vibrations from the surface that it's sitting on, and any potentially harmonic vibration back from this onto the surface, they've invested in some really good quality rubber feet. It lowers the mass, they're quite heavy, and ensures that it grips the surface well without having any issue as far as vibration transfer. So there we have it. Magnetar's stunning UDP800. It's a high-end 4K Blu-ray player worth absolutely every cent. Proudly unboxed here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.